Yo, my friends, welcome to my channel Itachi Fanfics. Subscribe to my channel, like to this video, and this story about what Naruto has 6 eyes from Satoru Gojo. Let's start.
Today the academy would finally end. It was the last day before graduation. Well, assuming that you pass, that is. But the young blonde boy definitely wasn't going to fail. Strongest after all. Uzumaki Naruto was that boy in question. The 12-year-old had yellowish blonde hair that fell freely down with an undercut style, allowing the fringe to just reach to his eye. Wore a standard set of clothes with seemingly black cargo pants that had a blue tint to them, tied at his shins with tape, and standard shinobi sandals. His shirt was also a standard blue long sleeve, pulled up and tied at his mid-wrist, with a red spiral on each shoulder and the middle of his upper back, as well as a few pouches tied to his waist. Stood at an impressive height of 5 feet 1 and with a good athletic build. Okay, boys, show the unison sign. A chunin with a spiky ponytail and scar across his nose spoke to Naruto and his opponent to be Uchiha Sasuke. Had it tough, Naruto, though. He was a talented child, there's no doubt about that, but he had been both outmatched and spat on during his life. He had lost his family when his elder brother supposedly went mad and slaughtered them all to test his capabilities, leaving only Sasuke alive. He claimed that Sasuke was nothing. Unlike Itachi, who had been born to be great with almost unrivaled talent, he was barely better than average and was so entirely unfulfilling that he wasn't even killing. The village claimed to have been unable to catch Itachi, and he escaped after the massacre, leaving Sasuke to swear vengeance, vowing to end his brother's life with own hands to avenge his family. Naruto doubted some of that, though in fairness he also thought that the top people in the village, being the elders, clan heads and even the Hokage, were cowards, so he was a little biased. Naruto's distaste for such people aside, Sasuke's survival felt weird. In any case, Naruto thought highly of Sasuke. His potential was great, he could see it after all, but his will and spirit, clouded with rage and hate they may be, were still unmatched. So of course, when set to fight him, oh, we get to fight Sasuke. How excited are you to face yours truly? Naruto said with his voice high and playful at first, then swapping to self-reverent and cocky for part, while leaning his face forward and giving a grin. Yep, Naruto definitely liked Sasuke. Was the ever so eloquent reply to his joyful boasting. Ah, if only you had activated those pretty red eyes of yours, then I would have claimed it to be fate. Naruto continued, ignoring the twitch in Sasuke's eye. Well, sadly mine do turn off. Or on actually, so I'm afraid I'll have an unfair advantage. Wait, I know, I'll just close my eyes. It's not like I need to see to beat you anyway. This time Naruto's turn. A playful mocking in it, hoping to annoy Sasuke with his comments. Which they did, but did not distract him from his observation. Sasuke stared at Naruto, more specifically his eyes. They were a light blue color and seemed to almost look as if they were reflecting the sky. They had a slight glow to that just screamed power. They were beautiful, and horribly uncomfortable to look at. It felt like they were peering past and into you, breaking you apart and seeing every about you. They stared into your soul and invaded your deepest, most sacred place within your mind, all without even trying. They were the 6 eyes. A dojutsu totally unique. Naruto. With no past holders ever being spoken of, even the Hokage had never seen them before, they were a mystery. And with their mysterious origins came unknown powers. Only Naruto knew what they did, and even that was being generous. He didn't know as much as just understood. Was the only thing he had revealed about them, their natural ability to see and understand chakra beyond any other sensory ability or dojutsu in the world. To see it at AD level than even believed possible, and to then naturally know and understand its place and interaction with the world. Naruto's eyes were, despite their beauty, a divisive thing within the village. Some believed they were nothing special, a parlor trick used by an orphan boy with a god chopping to have others believe in and revere his holy existence as much as he seemed to. Others were put off by them, likely having made the mistake of looking into them long and disliked and avoided Naruto because of them. But in Sasuke's opinion, the craziest ones were those who believed they were bestowed onto him by a demon in read a contract or deal. They claimed he was the reason for the Nine Tails attack, that was coincidentally on his birthday, that he was cursed and that his eyes were proof of such. Sasuke never understood how people could claim Naruto made a binding vow with a demon for his eyes and had been born the same day, let alone be the curse that cows nine tails attack. Surely, they recognized the idiocy in claiming a newborn not only had the intelligence to converse with a demon and enter into a two-way deal in exchange. Fancy eyes while giving something away. But also, that while doing so inadvertently caused the king of the Biju to attack, leaving him with his cursed eyes as proof of his treato his people. In his opinion they just didn't like Naruto. Quote. Sasuke. You there. Hello. Sensei, I think I've dazzled him with my beauty and he's unable to fight. Sasuke snapped back to reality from his wanderings at the sound of the voice. He noticed the girls of his class cheer his name, even the boys looked to be supporting him. Naruto's reputation certainly extended far. Iruka sighed at Naruto's antics and thanked the sage he'd be free after today. He loved Naruto, even tried to fill an empty role in the boy's life as an older brother to help and mature him. But gods, he was annoying. Thankfully, with Sasuke's return to the living, he could get this beatdown spar over with and finish up the last portion of the graduation exam. The written and ninjutsu had gone well. Most of his pupils seemed to have done well enough when he took a quick glance at their answers, and of course he had judged them on their ninjutsu profile personally, so he knew how they performed in that section. Now the last of the taijutsu exams was to take place between his two top students, not that it truly mattered. Both boys had already made it mathematically impossible to fail when considering the scores they achieved overall. Are both of you ready? After receiving a nod from Sasuke and a lazy hand wave from Naruto, who seems to have gone from excited and bubbly to bored and lethargic, pass for another of his students, Iruka began the spar. Then begin. Naruto stood with his eyes closed, hands in his pockets, and awaited the attack he knew would come after all his boasting. As he suspected, Sasuke rushed towards him. Take the advantage through gathering momentum. Ducking under the sweeping right hook that came, Naruto spun around, now having swapped places with his adversary. Having expected Naruto's dodge, was not caught off balance and used his momentum to lift his back left leg and go for a high kick whilst allowing it to turn him toward his opponent. Naruto dodged easily after quickly leaning his head back and allowing the leg to swoop past him. Naruto, not wanting to drag it out, decided to forego his usual approach to battle and get into it straight away. He engaged Sasuke after parrying a blow meant for his throat with the back of his hand. He threw his left hand to Sasuke's stomach, which stole the air from his opponent, allowed him to push harder at his defenses. He allowed Sasuke to show off his own skills at the same time, though not completely overwhelming him, and instead using the to try and help where he could in terms of gaining experience and showing any openings or faults within Sasuke's form. The boy, although talented, trained by himself and were always helpful, and each time Sasuke came back having fixed what had been pointed out to him. Naruto loved teaching. Getting tired of the back and forth which he was on the losing end of, Sasuke made distance and regained his breath. Naruto usually fought quite reservedly, using your power against you until he got into it and began to show his overwhelming power. Considering his opponent seemed to want to jump right into it, Sasuke thought he better he rejoined the fight, moving faster and with more fluidity than before. He brought his leg down in an axe kick which was blocked with Naruto's forearms. He had his leg trying to escape and had to eat the clothesline to the chest that put him on his back, but he quickly rolled away from the stomp that would have ended the fight. Naruto smiled and beckoned Sasuke closer after he rose from the ground. He caught a left that was aimed for his nose and held the arm, not allowing Sasuke to escape. His free hand to pepper his opponent with blows and eventually wound up a kick that landed under the chin, lifting him off the ground. Before Sasuke could recover, his leg grabbed again and Naruto threw him out of bounds, ending their spar. Though relatively short-lasting, the skill, speed and power on display was leagues ahead of anyone else. Naruto assumed that they had done enough and decided to just end. Despite both boys still being well able to continue, he recognized that this spar shouldn't be one fought to the bitter end. It was purely a demonstration of skill and the teach you learned. not a genuine spar between shinobi hoping to train and better themselves for true mission combat. With the last spar complete, Naruto and his classmates were allowed to leave after being given instructions to return at the usual time tomorrow for their results and team placement. Making his way off the academy grounds, Naruto ignored his classmates' grumbling about his win over Sasuke and made his way home. He actually quite liked some of them. Also recognized that many were simply limiting themselves by solely learning from their clans, but he supposed heirs learning material from outside the clan would cause tea within the hierarchy of cowards who ran this place. They were people who started out normal but became corrupted by power and prestige. They were backstabbers who used downfall and hardships of their friends to further their own position. Well, that was irrelevant to Naruto. He had known of such things since the discovery of his eyes. He had watched and listened as they debated and discussed what to do with, as if he was their property. Some voting for his death while others wished to take control of him and use him for their gain. But in the end, despite political positions, power dictates everything, and the Hokage had ruled he would be left alone. Truly, power was everything. If you were strong, the village would have need of you, and well, the Nam would eventually create for himself was proof enough of this boy's strength. Naruto of the Six Eyes, the strongest. But for now, he was a boy awaiting his team and Jonin's to be revealed so he could continue his path. Naruto sat alone in his apartment. The room was nice, not overly lavish or extravagant, but still better than what an average orphan would be accustomed to. The apartment consisted of a living space with a couch, coffee table and TV, along with some space for bookshelves and storage. Next to it was a kitchen separated only by a worktop that out from the wall, with the side on the living room prepped with mats for eating and the kitchen side housing the oven and fridge. Lastly, his bedroom was nice, large and hold a double bed with a wardrobe for clothes and even a place for study. Naruto disliked it though. All this apartment did was prove to him that strength was all these villages cared for. He was strong and so he was treated well. Those other orph who were weak, well, they certainly weren't enjoying such luxuries. Those in power are always afraid to lose it. To become normal again, they paved the way for those who were strong to trust, respect and love them by ensuring they were to the best the village had to offer, all to allow them to remain in the positions they held, to desperately hold on to their power, but they were always afraid have too much, and they would inevitably fear it. But there was nothing he could do. He was supremely talented, likely the most so ever, but he was young. People like the Hokage could best him easily as of now simply by of pure overwhelming force. That would change in time. He would likely become the strongest, but there was still much to learn about his power, but more importantly, Abu chakra. Naruto knew that understanding chakra, both his own and the world's, at a deeper level would allow him to use and manipulate his abilities to a degree he couldn't even fathom. And he would learn that from his Jonin sensei. The Jonin force are the elite of the village, the poster children of Konoha. Very few make it to the Jonin rank when you consider vast amount of people who become shinobi. To be a Jonin means to have had absolute faith placed in your abilities, the belief that if you are there, whatever task is at hand completed with utmost efficiency. Naruto knew that his sensei would likely be of an even higher caliber. He and Sasuke were likely to be considered VIPs within the village and so would receive a higher tier instructor to both teach them properly but also ensure their safety. Naruto opened his eyes for the first time since closing them against Sasuke. He almost wanted to flinch as all the excess information he had been blocking was allowed to his brain. But he ignored the temptation and focused on the visible chakra flowing around him. He watched as his own flowed like a raging river within his tenketsu, unbelly. Powerful and yet flowing along the path he dictated. He looked more intently, almost as if his eyes were zooming in. He peered deeper into his inner power and allowed his analyze and break it down for him. Yes, he could tell this was the way to better himself and his natural abilities. Understanding of his own chakra, experiencing the core of strength firsthand. Konoha Academy. Naruto returned to the academy the next day as had been instructed and sat down. He was just on time and so ignored Iruka-sensei's glare and reprimand. Okay, maybe little late, but it's not that bad. Naruto. You're 15 minutes late. any longer and I'd have released the results and teams before you even arrived. Okay, maybe it was a little bad. Sensei, I promise it's not my fault. The girls just wouldn't leave me alone on my way here. They kept shouting, "Come back, you're so pretty. Have my babies," so I had to warp here. Naruto spoke with a completely straight face. Iruka just looked at him with a dumb expression, really showing how he felt about that obvious lie. Gods, he hoped Naruto was lying. Wait. Warp. Anyway. Iruka continued, ignoring Naruto's grin and sly wink at Ino, who he had sat next to. First, I want to congratulate all of you on your performances. A majority of you have achieved a passing grade. Those who have not, don't worry, there are many more opportunities to advance, whether you continue to study an extra year here or even your hand at an apprenticeship under a chunin to earn a field promotion doing tasks here within the village. I'll begin handing out your results and allow you a 15-minute be outside while we prepare in here. If you passed, I'd like you to return to the room after that time. If not, you're free to head home and we'll discuss how to move forwards tomorrow. As Naruto was handed his form showing a clear and easy pass, he allowed himself a little fun in celebration. Looking up from his sheet to a corner of the room he could see chakra that was hovering around. He assumed it to be some kind of spy jutsu based on the chakra and so gave a cheeky smile and waved to it before discreetly hitting an unseen repulsive force. Hokage's office. The Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, was sitting behind his desk, which was littered with pictures of students. He was decorated in his full attire befitting the leader of the village, white and red hat displaying his position as the fire shadow to all. In front of him stood his Jonin senseis to be. These would be the people that would fan the flames of the fire and support the young leaves who would eventually take his and their place in protecting the great tree. They were currently watching as the Chunin sensei Iruka began handing out the results to his students. So, any questions or complaints? The elder Kage rasped out. Hokage-sama, if I may. A young brunette with dazzling red eyes made herself known. After receiving his blessing, she spoke. Why focus so much on the Uzumaki? His talent certainly, but he is of no clan or noteworthy background. His early talent will surely be overshadowed when the clan heirs mature and grow. She held nothing against personally. She was sure it's tough to grow in such an environment and remain okay. It's totally understandable he would delude even himself in his attempt to feel I am in such a wide village. But she couldn't see why he would be placed in such a way as to ensure his safety and progression to the same extent as the Uchiha heir. Many seemed to agree with the points raised, some likely for even less altruistic reasons than the first, but it still ached Hiruzen's old heart to hear people speak of Naruto. Away. He was not as close to the boy as he would have wished. Naruto's seeming resentment of him started after the council meeting when his eyes had first been discovered to be abnormal. Naruto was smart even then. He had watched the child listen in and discover how the rulers and nobles of this village discussed ways to kill or manipulate him. Fear of the power or curse he may carry. He watched as Naruto formed a steadfast belief that they were cowards who shouted to kill a child but would not dare do it. Then when his presence was known, lace their voices with honey attempting to sway him. Naruto is placed where he is because I believe Kakashi is the best suited to teach him. There are many among you who believe Naruto's eyes to be some kind of ruse, but assure you as far as we can tell they do have some chakra properties and abilities to them. Many around still appeared skeptical but would never openly defy their Kage. Room all looked into the orb on the Hokage's desk, allowing a view of the classroom and focused on one boy in particular. But Hokage-sama, surely. The words died in her throat as they watched Naruto look at them before giving a smile and wave, clearly showing he was aware of their praise. Watching him and the feed went dark. Ha 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 ha. Cough cough. Well, hopefully that display allows us to move on from this topic. Yes. Hiruzen gave a chuckle at the display. That boy and his ego would surely be him much pain and amusement in the times to come. The room seemed to grumble in agreement to the Hokage's words, but Kakashi remained focused on his new charge. He had been given a team that broke the usual pattern. Placements outside of direct requests. Instead of his team being made up of the best male and female student along with the lowest scorer, he had been allotted a Team W. Top 3 in the class. He wasn't surprised to have been given care of Sasuke. he was the only one left who wielded the boy's bloodline to teach him. His female student looked impressive on pap. Kakashi knew to look underneath here. He saw the girls as she truly was, and despite her promise in a few of the more delicate fields he wasn't impressed. Assumed he was given charge of Haruno Sakura in an attempt to steer her in the right direction mentally. His last student though was his current focus, Uzumaki Naruto. Sensei would surely be proud of his boy, though maybe he'd be forgiven if he beat some humility into the child, he thought with a gentle smile hidden beneath his mask. Academy. Having returned from their break, the students who had passed were once more sat within the classroom. They had walked in to find Iruka standing ready to tell them that would determine their lives for years to come. Once more I want to say how proud I am of this class. I know you will become fantastic shinobi. Who knows, we may have a future Hokage graduating with us today. Irik spoke with a genuine voice, truly showing how much he cared for these kids he taught. Okay, moving on to our team selections. He began to announce each team of 3 and the sensei they had been allocated. Okay, and Team 7 is Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and Uzumaki Naruto. Your Jonin sensei is Hitaki Kakashi. The newly announced team looked among each other and had varied reactions between them. Yes. No. Were the simultaneous shouts from Sakura and Ino. Each girl having wanted to be placed with the object of their shared affection, Sasuke. True. Prevails Piggy ahahaha. Sakura was beyond happy to be with Sasuke. Naruto's place in the team was entirely irrelevant to her. Ino grumbled even further when she heard placement with Choji and Shikamaru. She was even a little disappointed not to be placed with her fellow blonde. Naruto was at least fun and entertaining, unlike Fatty, and as she had so nicely named her 2 childhood friends. Sasuke bore a small grin for a second at being placed with his rival and friend, not that he'd admit such a thing to anyone. He was happy to be placed with someone he continued to push himself against, someone he learned from, and even someone whom he thought understood him a little. Sakura being on the team was a non-factor. He ignore her as he always had. Well, try to anyway. In smaller numbers he'd likely have to interact with her sometimes. I hope this Kakashi is powerful. I need to know more. To be better. Naruto was slightly more animated than his broody teammate, but less so than his other seriously loud one. Ah well, I'll just have to make friends with our sensei, wouldn't to disturb the lovebirds and be stuck third wheeling. Naruto said to himself aloud and gave a sigh as he rested his head on his palm. He stuck his tongue out at Ino, who peeked over at him when she heard lovebirds. She quickly spun around after giving him the finger, which he laughed at. 3 hours later and the once bustling classroom was empty, everyone having left with their new sensei to begin their new lives as shinobi of Konoha. Well, almost everyone remained sat in their seats awaiting the arrival of this Kakashi guy who would be their sensei. What is taking him so long? This is ridiculous. Sakura was not happy. She had begun the wait, overjoyed at being placed with her beloved. She had fallen into fantasy after fantasy revolving around her passive ability Tochakra. Kakashi could hardly help in that field. Anyway, the kids were looking at him like some kind of crazy person now after he just stared at them without speaking. So it's time to get this new chapter in their lives. Santa. Yo, I'm Hitaki Kakashi, I'll be your Jonin sensei. Well, assuming you pass, that is. Kakashi spoke with an eye smile that didn't comfort his students at all. Pass. All 3 thought while looking at the man who claimed to be their teacher. Oh yeah, Kakashi would enjoy this. Well, we can leave that for a little bit later. How about we talk a little first, give some introductions. I know you all know each other, at least partially, but sharing some details would help make us a more well-refined team. Kakashi spoke up, diverting the conversation the way he wanted it to go before he dropped the bomb. He looked over his 3 new students, well, possible students at least. He didn't have much hope for them, not due to their skills or prowess in the shinobi arts, but from personalities. He watched how they moved around one another, how they looked at the others, and decidedly did not like it. There was nothing too major, no active disdain could have been present considering children and their tendencies to be jealous and cruel. Sasuke appeared annoyed with Sakura's presence. No, that's not quite right. he was annoyed by her closeness to him and constantly open-mouthed it seemed. From the eye and general closed-off posture he wasn't interested in conversing with his chattier teammate. Though from the few looks he cast over at Naruto, Kakashi was a little surprised. Happy to see some admiration but rivalry burning in them. A good rival always pushed you to be better, but it should never develop as much as to sour your actual relation with them. He concluded Sasuke was not as lost a cause as he had presumed he might be when it came to possible teamwork and fluidity in this group. Sakura was, as he had previously observed, talking Sasuke's ear off. She was scooted up right next to him and looked to have hearts in her eyes. She either didn't notice or care that Sasuke was annoyed at her, which wasn't good. If she didn't care about his thoughts but continued to bother him, it didn't bode well for their future teamwork. The being applied if she was too wound up in her talking to notice the person she was talking to was visibly frustrated by it. She had not once looked over to Naruto since sitting down and was a fair distance from him as well. She couldn't continue to ignore the presence of one of her teammates if this team were to pass his test. Though she didn't to hold any ill will to Naruto, perhaps other than his continual victories over Sasuke, but that was just petty and something she could easily get over. Kakashi hoped she could turn on her teamwork when in the field. She had some potential for a medic, and he would love to have a skilled one alongside him and his team. Lastly, he peeked over at Naruto. He wanted to sweat drop at the boy before him. He was lounged back leaning on his elbows with his legs extended in front of him. He had eyes closed again. Perhaps they are sensitive, Kakashi mused. Sakura seemed to believe he was asleep, but he defiantly was not. He didn't even seem to be trying to act as he kept sighing and looking over at his teammates as if to suggest he was annoyed at something, perhaps at Kakashi for stalling to build up tension and analyze them. Kakashi couldn't gauge much of value from his posture other than he was totally relaxed and confident. He appeared to dislike wasting time and waiting for others, which was necessarily a terrible trait, as long as it didn't translate to his patience in dealing with shinobi activities like watching a target or dealing with clients, but it certainly wouldn't well for the boy if he passes with Kakashi as his sensei. He figured he'd need to observe Naruto in a different setting to get a better idea of him. So, we'll just start with basic introductions. Your name, a bit about you, a dream or goal, anything like that. He first pointed at Sasuke to get them started. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I train to ensure I'm strong enough, stronger than anyone else so that I can achieve my dream. No, it's not a dream but a promise I made. Someone and avenge my clan. I will ensure my clan rises to prosperity again after I've reclaimed its honor. Sasuke spoke darkly, his hands clasped, and face partially hid. Behind them, he appeared to have gotten himself worked up during his speech, with his previous irritated expression having gave way to his focused but burning rage throw in a glare that left a bit of an impression on the team, having dimmed the mood a little. Sakura looked shocked at him before calming herself but still decided to give him some space, avoid being on the receiving end of his anger, or perhaps it was out of a bit of respect she had for the pain Sasuke must have gone through. Kakashi wasn't surprised at or rather promise Sasuke had made to himself. It would make him a little bit hard to steer. Anyone who could direct Sasuke's hate or manipulate it could cause some Damahade need to help the kid out a little. Naruto hadn't changed at all, likely having already known or suspected like Kakashi. Well, that's certainly a lofty goal. Kakashi spoke to ease the tension Sasuke had built a little bit before moving on. Right, what about you then? Pink one. Cha. Anyway, my name is Haruno Sakura. She peeked over to Sasuke and blushed at him before continuing. I enjoy looking after my hair and reading. Dream is to. She once again trailed off, this time not even finishing the thought or attempting to hide her squeal as she seen Sasuke. Kakashi had already understood Sakura, so nothing was really gained from her introduction. He only reconfirmed he would need to work hard with her. How interesting. Anyway, now you blondie. Kakashi sounded so utterly unenthusiastic at Sakura's introduction she actually felt a little embarrassed. This is seriously boring. I already knew Sasuke had anger issues and Sakura was a creepy stalker, and they already know that I'm incredible. Naruto spoke still without looking up from his relaxed position. He earned a shout and annoyed grunt in response of his characterizations of his teammates and himself. So, what's the actual point, oh eye patch? My. Quite the detective. Kakashi decided to get to it. Well, I'm Hatake Kakashi. I don't do much, at least not something I'd be allowed to talk to you about, and I have some goals. But Naruto's right, the point of this was to warm you up for the shock to come. You aren't technically shinobi yet. Kakashi revealed after a little wait to be. Suspense. He enjoyed the shock and surprise from his charges. Even Naruto peeked one of his eyes open to pay closer attention at the announcement. What do you mean? We passed the tests, right? Sakura was clearly feeling the pressure mounting up again, the possibility she would need more than just her no. She could rely on for the academy tests surely worried her. Yes, you did pass the academy tests. But they are not the only ones needed to truly become genin. Your chosen jonin instructor also gives his potential students a test to ensure they are people they want to train or that the kids are truly ready. You can either be failed outright and all return to the academy if the jonin deems it necessary, or maybe only one does. Kakashi looked over his genin for once appearing to them as a serious figure. He was slowly mounting pressure. Kakashi's test would revolve around teamwork. He would never train people who would abandon a comrade. If his teachings lead to such, he would have disgraced himself and everyone he had cared for. So, he was trying to create tension within the group, while also dropping a few hints at his criteria, namely the introductions Naruto had so brazenly disregarded, instead low for something deeper with Kakashi. They were designed to breed a feeling of camaraderie and set them up to ignore his orders to abandon someone when the test would be. But without that feeling amongst them, the pressure would build and they would lose their ability to analyze the scenario effectively. Even the most obvious lie or cold fool someone who's panicked and stressed. So, with all that said, join me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 9 a.m. And a word of advice, don't eat breakfast tomorrow, you'll only throw it up after what I put you through. With his last piece of misdirection laid out, Kakashi vanished in a poof of smoke. Quote. Silence reigned over the rooftop as the three remaining mulled over their potential sensei's words. This might actually be quite interesting. I wonder what he'll have us do to prove ourselves worthy of his time. Ahahaha, how frustrating. I was hoping we could jump right. The exciting things. Naruto spoke up, breaking the silence. He's quite the manipulator. But to what end? What does he want us to do? He muttered so only he could hear words, truly questioning what his sensei hoped for him to achieve with the maze of suggestions and traps he had laid out. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I want to take a nap. Today's been boring. With that, Uzumaki Naruto also made his exit, leaving only a sharp gust of wind behind as if he was pulled away by some invisible force. Training Ground 7:12 p.m. the next day. But Naruto didn't think that was all there was to it. More of these mind games. It's clear now he's trying to throw us off our game, to make sure we can't operate at full CA. Both physically and mentally. So, what test have you conjured up for us, Mr. Eye Patch? Well, you're all here bright and early just as I instructed, but enough with that, let us move on to your test. Kakashi spoke to the team. Naruto watched closely, observing both his teammates and the man who would be testing them. He noticed they appeared ragged and sluggish already, but they had done nothing but sit and complain while waiting around. I see, so they followed his instructions not to eat as well. Naruto had ignored that particular instruction, believing it ear. But also assuming it was a trap laid out, even if at the time he didn't know for what purpose. Now it seemed clear Kakashi was trying to wear them down. Kakashi made a show of pulling out 2 golden bells held by red string and dangling them in front of himself. Your goal is to steal these bells from me. You can achieve any way you see fit, but remember, come at me with intent to kill or you'll never even see them. You'll have until 2 p.m. so in 2 hours. If you don't have a bell, you fail and be tied to a post while I eat in front of you. Naruto watched Sasuke and Sakura cringe at that, but he was more interested in the pass criteria. Steal a bell from the hip of a jonin, that's rough. I'm sure this man is someone quite special. His eye doesn't match the rest of his chakra and feels extremely powerful and potent. Well, it's likely a Sharingan if his alias is, the copy ninja, is anything to go by. Plus it looks red. Naruto had briefly researched his sensei. Nothing major, just a little background knowledge you can get from public sources, but this truly was well known. Sensei. You only have 2 bells. Shouldn't there be 3? Sakura seemed to have gotten over herself and noticed Kakashi's ace in the hole. Well, as I mentioned yesterday, it's entirely up to the sensei's discretion who is passed and how many out of a possible graduate team. Personally, I only want 2 Genin.'s test reflects that only 2 people can pass this test. One of you is guaranteed to fail. Sasuke and Sakura looked wholly taken aback before proclaiming the unfairness of this. Just because they had been given Kakashi, one would fail. But Kakashi only said the world was unfair. Genins died on missions, and he didn't want to take on 3 so he could ensure better training and protection. At his logical reasoning, Naruto watched teammates eye the bells and subtly move away from each other. Each wanted their own formation. Sakura would want Naruto to fail so she could be with Sasuke, while likely wouldn't care who he was with as long as he got a bell. He'd maybe even steal one if he didn't get it off Kakashi. Naruto had just decided he liked his new sensei. What a test to put newly graduated students through after mounting heaps of pressure. This would surely crack everyone's composure and test if they were worthy or not. Had he not been focused on his sensei, his words and actions, as well as watching his teammates at the same time, which could only do so effectively thanks to his enhanced processing speed granted by the 6 eyes, he would be as lost and conflicted as his fellow teammates. Okay guys, come at me with intent to kill, as I said, whether that be in direct combat or traps. Do what you need to pass. You may begin. Naruto watched his teammates jump off into the forest to conceal themselves, but doing so in different directions. He looked at Kakashi, who looked slightly amused at his presence, but he was hiding it well, having taken out a book to read. He's seriously good at mind games. He could have people wrapped around his finger in a fight just by feigning boredom. Oh, you're still here. Shouldn't you be off hiding yourself? Well, I don't think so. You have what I want. How does hiding help me take a bell? It just lets you stall and make this boring. Naruto replied. That's an interesting way of looking at it. But I suppose you're not wrong, though I would have come looking for you. Kakashi seemed amused at the response. I think all you with our first contact in this scenario, he continued. Lowering his book to his pouch, once more jingling the bells on their way, he stood loose waiting for an attack. Well, he's taking me perhaps a little more seriously than Sasuke or Sakura. Naruto looked around and spotted his teammates hiding places. At least they're watching. I'll for a bit before retreating to them, and then we'll build from there to achieve the main objective of Kakashi's test. That way they'll have seen the level of this fight and come realize on their own the true purpose, or at least will be more receptive to the idea of working together when I bring it up. Well, no time to waste. I think I'll show off a little, yeah. My future team's watching after all. And with that, Naruto began his attack. Usually, Naruto was reactive in a fight, especially at the start, but that wouldn't work here with the difference in experience and level, plus Kakashi seemed to have no desire. Start it himself. Perhaps he knows my preferred style and is forcing me out my comfort zone, though that's maybe just overthinking his laziness. Naruto clasped his hands together and vanished from his spot. Reappearing behind his target, he let loose a powerful kick aimed to Kakashi's right temple, but before it connect, the elder ninja lowered his head to avoid the kick and spun around, aiming a punch to Naruto's midsection with no hesitation. Launching off his standing foot, Naruto avoided any contact easily and made a little distance again. Kakashi seemed a little put off by the speed he had shown off there. It was faster than usual thanks to the hand sign, but still it seemed the Jonin had followed him and Ria quickly enough. That was a little dangerous. If I had my book out, that might have actually caught me off guard. Kakashi seemed to stand taller, his easygoing persona shattering as he himself to truly show of his physical stature. You're a dangerous kid, Uzumaki Naruto. Well, I do try my best. Shall we continue? Well, I do try my best. Shall we continue? Naruto noticed the change in Kakashi's posture. This fight was about to change gear. These people are going to be my team, and Kakashi will be my sensei. It's important he has an understanding of some of my abilities. I suppose I'll show some moves off here then, even if he can't help directly surely. Knowledge will help me apply and utilize them better. Having made up his mind to show his hand to this team, Naruto this time adopted his usual battle strategy. He waited for Kakashi to engage him. Having gained the Atentio, the Jonin, Naruto assumed the man would indulge him a little more than he would have at the beginning of their fight and would attack to see what Naruto was trying to shish him. As he hoped, Kakashi did indeed instigate the next attack. Jumping in towards him, Kakashi appeared behind him and attempted to trip him with a quick leg sweep. Once Naruto clasped his hands and vanished. Appearing behind Kakashi himself, he raised his right leg for a kick at his opponent's face as he turned to face him. Kakashi leaned his head to the side and allowed the kick to sail past him, then attempted to take advantage of the missed attack and went to grab the leg, only for it along Naruto to vanish again. This time, however, Naruto didn't appear behind Kakashi but directly in front of him, ducking under the arm Kakashi raised to catch the kick. Naruto swipe for the unprotected bells at his waist. Kakashi only had just enough time to jump back and make distance, though not before Naruto managed a touch at one of the bells. Naruto stood back up from his crouched position and looked to his potential future sensei. The man was looking at him weirdly, as if he couldn't figure something out. Well, was how he was moving around as he was. Naruto would explain it to him, but not just yet. If Kakashi wanted any chance to figure it out, he would need to bring out that EY. That would surely be embarrassing for such a renowned man. But it would also tire him out, so a win-win scenario for Naruto. Trying to take advantage of his opponent's distraction, Naruto vanished without the hand sign. He once again went for a kick, this time forcing Kakashi to block by crossing arms over himself. The blow knocked Kakashi's hands up and forced him to slide back in the mud. Naruto moved forwards again and held his index finger on his right hand, while moving his left hand in front to cover whatever was happening from the gray-haired man's sight. Chakra technique reversal. Red. Naruto seen a red ball appear hove above the tip of his finger and allowed it to go off. The result was an abrupt repellent force smashing into Kakashi and throwing him back into the air. The man easily corrected his flight path with a flip and landed on the ground. Looking around immediately, he seen no one in front of him. Then by pure instinct he spun AR at full speed to his left and landed a back fist to the figure who had appeared and made an attempt at the bells. Kakashi felt the contact and immediately worried. Damn. He actually got me. He teleported behind me while I was flying and didn't allow me to see when he moved or acted on instinct there and slammed my fist into him because he got past my guard. That was my full power. That could kill him. Kakashi fully turned around hoping his student was okay, but it was likely he would be out cold or worse. Only to see him completely fine. The boy had moved away clearly surprised at the amount of force he had encountered on that attempt, but he was completely unharmed. Naruto. How are you unharmed? I hit you there, at my full power. I know I felt the contact. Kakashi questioned. Well, that was scary. Seriously, that force could have knocked my head off. You're certainly a powerful shinobi. Likely one of the top few in the village. Naruto answered, ignoring the request to explain his survival. Seriously though, that was scary. I acted purely on instinct to activate it on time there. Even with my advanced perception, Tim barely seen that coming. Well, that's always what I assumed its current weakness was anyway. Realizing Naruto wasn't going to explain himself, Kakashi decided he would force him to. Naruto seen Kakashi appear before him again and only just leaned to the side on time to avoid the jab at his nose. Kakashi continued to throw punches and kicks, and the was struggling to keep up now as Kakashi upped his pace and power with each time Naruto dodged or blocked a shot. Kakashi pulled out a kunai and began to swipe across his body, and Naruto had to push himself to his best to keep up. Seeing the kunai headed towards his left shoulder, HP pivoted to his side and allowed it to pass by harmlessly while also moving into Kakashi's guard. He threw a quick hook to the body, and it struck cleanly and powerfully. He was using it, not to defend himself this time but to increase the power of his blows. When Kakashi raised to hit him on the nose, he attempted to back away only to realize the kunai he had dodged earlier was again on its way to be stabbed into his back if H moved. Seeing no other way out, he again warped and appeared behind Kakashi, who spun and threw the kunai behind him at Naruto while he was reaching for Kakashi's vei. Naruto was forced to abandon his attempt to land a clean hit and dodge, which allowed the Jonin to attack. Now well over Jonin speeds in his offense, Kakashi forced Naruto the back foot. He felt like he was beginning to make glancing blows now, but Naruto still appeared like they were not even bothering him. Kakashi faked a heavy kick to Naruto's face, and when the blonde held his hands across to block, he changed trajectory and kicked the inside of the boy's left knee. Realizing his mistake faster than would be possible without his eyes, Naruto raised his leg just in time to lift it over the kick, and then using Kakashi's precarious position to advantage, he spun, keeping his foot raised and only extended it out. Landing a heavy blow backed up by an accompanying unseen force to the Jonin's side. Skidding back a few feet, Kakashi had enough and began to fight totally earnestly, only without any intent to seriously harm or kill his student. Leaving Naruto up against a Kakashi could offer, without of course any jutsu or unveiling his eye. He began dominating the fight and landed many blows to Naruto's side and arms, and although he felt contact, Naruto showed no ill effects or any sight of slowing down. If anything, he was beginning to keep up better the more he was pushed. Like he was adapting instantly. Fight to this level of combat. Naruto went to make distance and secure his position, but he was afforded no space or time. He leaned back almost horizontal to avoid a spin kick that would have knocked H clean out and had to retreat backward via a backward handstand when Kakashi planted his foot from the kick and moved forwards to grab him by the shirt. Naruto, not wanting to be overrun, began to fight back. He grabbed the hand that tried to catch him and held his opponent in place, then he drove an open palm into Kakashi's stomach, landing 3 blows to the man before he let go and spun around to his left, raising his leg and aiming his left heel to kick the man away. But Kakashi was far from incapacitated, though the blows hurt and appeared to be laced with some unseen force to apply extra impact. This man was not one of the best in reputation alone. He easily avoided the heel flying for his chest by landing on the ground and simply focusing on moving at his full speed. He appeared right in front of Narfist, already in motion, and aimed the hit to the boy's stomach. Naruto's eyes widened as he watched the man all but teleport in front of him. He couldn't warp. The technique wouldn't take effect fast enough due to his oversight in thinking had actually hurt this man. He'd have to show it again, but this time there would be no hiding it. Last time Kakashi hadn't been looking at him, he had yet to turn to him, had been unable to see the impact clearly thanks to the flow of combat the few times he had landed in this last exchange. But now, he was watching. As had happened last time Kakashi felt his fist impact with Naruto, he watched the boy with his uncovered eye at full attention. He had briefly considered revealing the oath. But for one thing that would be embarrassing, he didn't even unveil that for some weaker Jonin. To do it against a genin, or rather potential genin, would be ridiculous. But I would also force him to explain himself to another person here, and he had no desire for that if he might not even pass this team. The boy in front of him stood still, even after the punch connected. He looked up into Kakashi's eye, then simply took a step backwards. He was fine. He showed no pain. No. Absolutely nothing. What the hell are you made of? I hit you really hard there, and you didn't even wince. You just took that on your stomach with no repercussions. No, that's impossible. K. Seriously needed to figure this out. This boy's potential was ridiculous. He was actually keeping up with him at what easily amounted to Jonin level speeds. Naruto himself beginning to move at speeds a boy his age would usually need a Sharingan to perceive. An evident ability granted by his eyes was either future sight or seriously advanced perception. Naruto was beginning to move and dodge at the same time Kakashi began to move to attack. He reacted instantly, acting almost as though he had minutes to see the best course of action within a split second. He was able to keep up at that level and then return fire onto him. If Kakashi wasn't as durable as he is, those hits he took Him a surefire attack would have actually ended this fight. Naruto sighed. He was going to explain it anyway, but he hadn't wanted Kakashi to think he had to force him to. This just made the man suspicions of what he was hiding in. He was hiding it. Well, no, not quite. You didn't actually hit me. Naruto replied. Don't be ridiculous. I felt that. I know I landed that blow. Whatever. Here, come on over. Naruto stuck his hand out and waved Kakashi over to him. Come on, I'll show you. He continued waving his hand at the man. Deciding to humor the kid, Kakashi moved over to him and stuck his hand out, attempting to place his hand on Naruto's. He was bewildered when his hand stopped a good before the kid's. Trying to push it further, he couldn't seem to move it any closer at all. Wah, I can't touch him, not even a little. Kakashi looked up from their hands at the boy. See, I told you, Naruto said, proving his earlier statement true. I have more than one hereditary ability. Well, I assume it's hereditary at least. This is Mukujin, limitless. The basis for all the more physical abilities you've seen from me. The 6 eyes, as far as I can tell, are what's needed to truly utilize it, though none of what I've done could be without them, at least not how I do. The concentration and ability needed to use these is so great that without the eyes to match, it's likely none could be realistically used. Combat. The enemy won't just stop and let you focus for a few seconds, will they? Okay, but how were you doing that? You said the ability was called Mukujin, and that it encompasses all your attacks, so how did you stop me? Or teleport? Was that how? Pushed me away when you covered your hand from me? Kakashi seriously needed to hear this. He was so caught up he forgot he gave Naruto his hand, or rather wasn't expecting it to be used against him. I will tell you, but not just now, yeah. After all, you might not even be my sensei if we can't pass here. With that, he locked his hand with Kakashi's and made a move for TH. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get more than a touch at them once again. Kakashi threw him away with enough force to tear apart the hold Naruto had. But before the fight could continue, Naruto warped away from the field and into the trees. That the fight was enough to have achieved his goal. To force his team together, having realized the impossibility of victory alone. Kakashi stood now alone in the field, contemplating the newly discovered factors surrounding Uzumaki Naruto. Seems like the kid may have already sussed med'd lay it a little heavy on them with pushing them together. But I assumed the tension would have still been effective at disrupting logical thinking and evaluation, enough. Make it difficult at least. Kakashi wasn't so surprised actually, he already knew Naruto hadn't ever really shown off. Everyone who could think logically and disregard any BT he held against him could. But the extent of the abilities shown, and Naruto even claiming that they were the result of an inherent ability completely separate from the S, was a shocker. Perhaps he set me up here, led me around by the nose. Not in a way to win the fight, but to ensure he could get his teammates to comply with his theory about the pass C. For my bell test. Ha ha ha. What a kid. Within the forest, Sasuke stood where he had set up camp at the start of the test. He had been setting up his traps when he heard some type of explosion and rushed over to watch the fight, arrived back just in time to see Naruto appear behind their distracted instructor, having apparently sent him flying. He watched as the fight escalated after Kakashi appeared. Frustrated from the attempt. From his distance and angle he couldn't hear them or see in great detail, but he watched Kakashi approach Naruto and appear shocked by something after appearing to land a solid clean blow on the boy, moving at speeds that had Sasuke's jaw drop. After Naruto left, he watched Kakashi contemplate something before laughing to himself and then vanishing. Assuming the man was moving on to him and Sakura, Sasuke began to prepare himself. He checked up on his traps and supplies before lying in wait. After a minute or two he heard Sakura scream and assumed she had been taken out. Despite her annoyance he wanted to go see if she was okay, but left it to Naruto who likely to have some free time from the silver-haired Jonin after their fight. After waiting a few minutes, he finally spotted Kakashi. The man was crouched on a tree branch, seemingly inspecting one of his traps. Though he wasn't worried, he had a few that were like red herrings. They were easy to spot and maneuver around, but doing so would lead you into the path of another far superior trap. The idea was to man to believe himself to be safe, them spring on him and overwhelm him alongside a constant barrage of traps. Well, it's well made, that I can attest to. However, when your opponent is of a higher level and age than you, it's best to assume that their experience outmatches even we made traps. It was a good idea, and it shows good behavior and understanding that you were busy during the time I gave you while fighting Naruto, but you'll need more. This to get a bell. With that said, Kakashi purposefully set off the trap, causing a chain reaction that led off the hidden one Sasuke hoped would catch him off guard. Not all was lost, he had seen this one, but others were scattered about, and this time Kakashi would be engaged in active combat rather than having time to look it over. Don't be so cocky, he yelled as he jumped in to fight the man. Kakashi was impressed with the boy, he was fluid and his moves clearly refined over years of practice. He deflected a punch aimed to his stomach and off to the side and marveled at how comfortably and quickly Sasuke adjusted his body, to not only keep his momentum but cover the opening Kakashi made in his form. Had he wanted to, could have hit him there, but against maybe even a lower level Chunin that opening would be impossible to exploit. Sasuke continued his barrage. He jumped up and pushed off a branch above him to gain power as he flipped and landed an axe kick which Kakashi blocked above his head. Forearm. Still the blow almost buckled the arm. Sasuke then pushed off the arm and spun around again, aiming a kick to the man's neck with his right leg. The Jonin Ka with his left hand and held Sasuke's ankle, but not deterred, Sasuke merely raised himself up using the leverage and tried to stomp the man's face with his left foot. Once Kakashi caught the attack only for Sasuke to again make another attempt. The boy brought his elbows down in a slam to the top of the Jonin's head and forced the man to him backwards, using his hold on both legs to do so, to throw the blow off course. Kakashi once again couldn't help but praise the ingenuity of those attacks. To maneuver himself 3 separate times to better positions while I was holding him in rest movement is incredible. He continued to look for openings I made when blocking him and take advantage of them. Great thinking and battle sense. Unfortunately though, still quick to anger, he's competitive and gets frustrated when a fight's not going his way despite all the effort. As he had observed, Sasuke was getting angry, his punches, kicks losing some accuracy and finesse in exchange for wild power drawn from his frustration. Realizing he had already seen the best of Sasuke, he purposely set off a trap he had been avoiding, likely one of the reasons the child was so angry and allowed the wires him up. Jumping at the opportunity, Sasuke changed his plans and upped the ante. Finally, take this. Fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu. Sasuke launched his power move, the signature jutsu of his clan, in an attempt to burn the man who had so easily him and avoided all the traps he laid out. In doing so, he blocked his view of his opponent. After a few seconds, the fireball hit its target and erupted into flames. The surrounding trees all suffered the aftereffects and burned. When Sasuke moved over to the brink, found nothing there, and was taken off guard when he was pushed off the tree. Looking up while falling, he seen the silver-haired man wave at him from the branch. Positioning himself to land properly, the boy looked up to his adversary in the trees. Your grasp of taijutsu is fantastic for someone of your age and position. It's likely that the only way to improve it is through real combat experience, along with fighting practitioners of the art. Of course, that's all technique and physical ability. It will also take a massive leap when you activate your Sharingan. Kakashi began his lecture. Looking down on the boy from above, he could see the more he said, the more annoyed Sasuke got, even if the boy recognized what he was saying was true. But you have major weakness that is easy to exploit. What weakness? Sasuke forced himself to reply through ground teeth. He felt like this man was looking down on him, not in the physical sense but mentally. Your anger blinds you, Sasuke. You got annoyed, and so when shown an inch of success you threw everything at it, oblivious to the fact it could be a trap. I used your age against you and lured you into using such an ninjutsu, and although an impressive feat, your application of it was wrong. You blinded yourself to my movements and tired out, letting go of your chakra control to make it bigger. Perhaps that's a little hypocritical considering I lost track of an enemy earlier, but that was not of my own doing. Thought to himself. Sasuke looked incensed at the idea he was manipulated in such a way, but seemed to accept it. I want you to think about this. What could you have done better in this situation? How could you have made better use of my situation when tangled in wire? But just to Dr. home my point about losing view of an opponent. As he spoke those words, two hands popped up out of the ground below Sasuke and pulled him under up to his head. Was taken aback by this and looked up to the Kakashi he had been speaking to, only to see him smile before poofing into smoke to signify some type of clone jutsu. The ha that had dragged him under rose until the full body of Kakashi was standing before him. I'm sure Naruto will be along soon, likely with Sakura to free you. But consider this for when he comes, make the right decision. And with that the man jumped off into trees. Elsewhere with Naruto and Sakura. Naruto looked over his shoulder at his companion. He had found her when Kakashi appeared in front of her. He had prepared himself to intervene should he try to physical combat her, but he simply placed her in a genjutsu, likely trying to measure her aptitude for the field. He left evidently disappointed when she fell prey to the first one and from whatever she was shown. Naruto had dropped down then and woken and calmed her, explaining what had happened. He had then broached the subject he was there to speak with her about. At first the girl was vehemently against teaming with Naruto. She had thought he was trying to trick her into abandoning Sasuke and leaving him out. But thankfully her intelligence kicked in when Naruto began to explain his theory. She was forced to consider the plausibility of his words, and to top it off Naruto asked her what her chances. Without his proposed plan, she had watched him go toe-to-toe with the man, unveiling tricks no one had seen before, moving at his peak, and he was only able to touch the bells. It made sense that would up his level if he feared one of them might actually get a bell without meeting his true criteria to pass. That's why he tried so hard against Naruto but lowered his He likely wouldn't let them get a bell no matter their level until they came together and showed him what he wanted from them. Having decided Naruto was right, she joined him as they made their way to recruit Sasuke. He was likely to be the hardest to convince. He had a bit of something to prove. Would dislike the insinuation he couldn't get a bell from the man by himself. As they were moving, Naruto watched the fight between Sasuke and Kakashi from a distance, too long for Sakura to see lest she want to rush ahead. Naruto wanted a look Sasuke in a different combat environment, but he also thought the boy would be easier to convince if he was defeated here, so long as he wasn't in too foul a mood to list at them. Arriving after Kakashi buried the boy to the head in the ground, Naruto considered that he might have made an error in judgment there. Sasuke looked like he wanted to strangle the life out of the silver-haired man, and his ire would likely befall them solely due to connivance and proximity. Oh no. Sasuke-kun. Are you okay? Sakura rushed forwards to the young Uchiha the moment she seen him. She fretted around him, panicked and angry at Kakashi for just leaving him like this. Oi Sakura, that's enough for now. Remember, there are things we need to do and time's running out. We likely only have 30 minutes left. Naruto called out to her, bringing both people's attention to him. Tch, just leave, I can get out of here on my own. I don't need you. Sasuke spoke and tried to struggle his way out, but it appeared he was well and truly stuck. I'm afraid you do need us, and not just for this situation. Sasuke looked confused at the blonde, but still Naruto could hardly take him seriously, just being ahead and all. Going to leave you in there? He received a shout and a glare at that proclamation. Until after I've finished explaining. I don't care what you're explaining, let me out. Sasuke didn't seem receptive to his idea, and he would lose Sakura as well if he continued to treat him like this, so Naruto thought to make it quick. You will care when you don't pass. Now with some quiet Naruto began. To put it simply, this test isn't about the bells. They're a distraction, Maya. Divert our attention away from the true purpose, and the reason there are only two is to incite conflict within this team. Naruto briefly explained. He received a blank stare in return. What? That's ridiculous. What would Kakashi have to gain from doing something like that? Sasuke reasoned. A fair point, if you believe that Kakashi is trying to pass us. I don't think he wants us to pass, especially if we don't have the qualities he wants from us. Kakashi has set up to separate us, he wants us to disregard his orders and mission parameters, and instead come at him as a team. Naruto reasoned. It's impossible for us to beat him. Hitaki Kakashi is legendary, he fought in the Third Great War as a Jonin when he was our age. He's known around the world, and within villages considered at the top of the shinobi elite, only behind the Hokage and Sannin. That's the person we're supposed to take a bell from. I don't think so. It's a trick. Real test here is on us as a team, we're going to have to come together, all three of us, and show him we won't abandon a teammate for a short-sighted goal. That we are trustworthy. Sasuke listened to the speech and considered the idea. It's not unreasonable, we know he's tricky, he made me and Sakura come here without having breakfast, then made wait hours before arriving. Plus, he wasn't trying as hard against me as he did Naruto. Surely, he would have let Naruto get a bell had he been solely measuring our power, and it's as if he's waiting for something more. Make the right decision. Is this what he meant? Did he know Naruto had figured it out and would bring this idea to me? Then right decision is. Center of Training Ground 7. Kakashi stood waiting for something to happen. He had known Naruto was around when he incapacitated Sakura. While a little cold, he understood the boy's logic in waiting. He had just fought Kakashi and knew there was nothing to gain from it. He wouldn't pass by fighting even if he managed to get a bell. Plus, he assumed that had he tactually hurt her, Naruto would have intervened. Well, they're running out of time. Perhaps Naruto really couldn't convince Sasuke. Even after the tip I gave him, Kakashi sighed at the thought. Poor boy, so wound up in hand his past, he's actively holding himself back, though after my report it's likely Naruto will be passed anyway. Hokage-sama isn't foolish enough to disregard such potent power. Plus he has actually figured it out. Kakashi was amused to see Naruto land in front of him. He sensed the other two lying in wait and couldn't help the genuine smile that bloomed because of it. Well, never mind, have done it, though let's see what we'll be working with synergy-wise as a team A. Naruto watched the man in front of him. He knew already that they had come together, but wanted to see it in action. Naruto understood that and so signaled the first. Likely didn't matter the level of this attack, only that they had understood the test and come together. At least he hoped so. A second later and a hail of kunai came flying from the tree line. Sakura was within. They were all targeted at the Jonin and forced him to jump up into the air. As he did so, Sasuke appeared from his own spot. Having just finished weaving hand signs, he blew another fireball at the man, this time controlling the chakra and range better. Kakashi though substituted and allowed the summoned log to take the hit. He tried to capitalize on Sasuke's blind spot created by the technique again to surprise him, but met with resistance from Naruto, who appeared before him, blocking his path to Sasuke's back. The Uchiha spun around and leapt over Naruto and behind Kakashi. He found kunai thrown into the air near him from Sakura with explosive tags lit on the handle and threw it back towards the two dueling shinobi. Naruto, who knew what was coming, warped away from the blast radius, having kept Kakashi busy as long as possible, not allowing him to retreat. As the blast went off, Satoru, the alarm signifying the end of their time. Well, we did our best, but we spent too much time separate to really make an attempt for the bells here, but I think that went well, the sequence I mean. It wasn't super level, but it had all the necessary basics done right. Naruto spoke to his teammates, who seemed nervous and seriously exhausted. Having not eaten and been awake for a, Sasuke had struggled to use that second fireball and keep it under control, and Sakura never had particularly impressive stamina. I agree 100%, Naruto. This was almost a last desperate gambit with the remaining time. But it was exactly what I wanted. Kakashi spoke up, having avoided the tag substitution again. You three need to understand that teamwork is everything here. We protect our team and in return they protect us. But it's more than that. We are EAC. This same place, we each protect the will of fire passed down. This is the most important lesson I will teach you, and it's not any of the shinobi arts. Those who abandon rules are trash. That is true, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash. An old friend said that to me, and that is what being a shinobi of Konoha means, the standard. Without this, you'll never be a shinobi here. Each of the three kids looked at the man as he gave his impassioned speech. The man seemed so genuine when revealing the words of his friend to them, you could truly. Who Hatake Kakashi was in that moment. As Naruto mentioned, you didn't have much time but showed basic teamwork well. In truth, you passed the moment you banded together and disregarded the false object. Kakashi looked at each of the kids before him. Sakura, you had the worst performance. You have little physical conditioning and stamina and are easily spotted as the weakest link in your team. You made the right show. Stay in cover and support how you could from a distance, Kakashi said to the saddened girl. She knew it was true, but it still hurt. That being said, it's not something that can allow to remain unchanged. You may do and helped how you could here, but in the future, you'll be capable of more. Perhaps even as a medic, or through supplement. Genjutsu. Kakashi ended off with his plans and expectations, raising the girl's head a bit. She needed to know there was ways to help and get better from here on, she just needed to work at it. Sasuke, we already spoke earlier, you did a good job adapting the fireball here, and with Naruto covering your back you were perfectly safe to utilize your ninjutsu. All Lee, what we spoke of earlier to you, it's likely that it stems from something personal. To improve it you'll need to look inwards and explore your thoughts and feelings. Kakashi. Why he was angry, he understood it perfectly. But Sasuke needed to control it, or someone else would and they would use it against him as he did today. For your future, work on your ninjutsu arsenal, expand upon what you know and add to it, so you're not so limited in choice that you have to adapt a jutsu to fit a different circumstance. Seemed unhappy about things. He didn't have the best day but seemed to perk up at the end. The boy craved strength and expanding his knowledge of jutsu would do just. Naruto. Kakashi sighed and wondered what to do about the revelations regarding him. Actually, follow me and we can report together. Kakashi thought that was the best choice. It would spare him having to explain to the Hokage secondhand, though Naruto looked entirely none too pleased about it. Perhaps the boy only showed off what he Kakashi himself and had no desire to tell the Hokage. It wasn't strictly necessary to tell the Hokage your moves, the clans would surely riot, but if he asked you something, normally did it. Well guys, that's all. You are now officially Genin of Konoha. Congratulations Team 7. This is our training ground, meet me here tomorrow at 9 AM and we'll discuss our SCH. Then. With that said, Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder and then moved them to the Hokage's office. The front door was beautifully carved wood and you certainly felt we're walking into somewhere almost sacred. After knocking, Kakashi received a come in from beyond the door. The voice was aged and he knew exactly who it belonged to. The most powerful man in Konoha, the Hawk. He looked to Naruto and noticed the straight face. The boy was usually so carefree and apathetic. He hoped this was the right call. Opening the door, he guided Naruto into the room where they seen it filled to the brim with Jonin, all reporting their teams. Success or failure. The Hokage looked to him and Naruto and showed a little shock before once again facing him. Well, Kakashi, you're right on time. He spoke in a voice so aged but powerful. It commanded respect even after decades of gruesome choices and actions had weighed down. How did your test go? Something interesting happened. He spoke to Kakashi but clearly questioning the presence of the boy he brought with him. Hokage-sama. Kakashi said with a bow, showing the legend the respect he deserved. Team 7 under Jonin Hatake Kakashi. He paused to build tension in the room. Naruto sighed and almost felt the eye roll but didn't let it show on his face. After all, he was staring down the room with an intense look. Past. He revealed with a light voice. Smile in his closed eye. The room was in silence. Nobody wanted to be the one to breath and have him reveal it was a joke. But he never did, just kept smiling at them. No way. Yes way, Kakashi answered. And we've got quite the story to tell, right Naruto? Now with all eyes on him, Naruto cursed his sensei. This was ridiculous. Yeah, just don't try vote to kill me this time, or I'll take it personally. Oh. Kakashi thought. Maybe this wasn't a good idea. He laughed away the awkward silence in the room. Yeah, I'm going to hate this job.